Men will express it through anger. Men will, pound their fists, put their hands through a wall.
Fucking insane.
Even in sports, right? Break rackets. And nobody thinks that's emotional. Welcome to Pattie's Perspective, where we talk about topics that are truly empowering to women, and I give you my perspective on things that are designed to take away that power. So today I want us to tackle a topic that is really designed to keep women in less superior positions and designed to keep us down. And that is whether women are more emotional than men. That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, Jordan. How are you?
Hello. I'm super excited about this topic, and as you can see, I'm in a different location.
Yeah. Are you doing karaoke? What's up with the mic?
Well, I know everyone in the comments was talking about how there's no way that we'll ever get a man and we'll be single with several cats for the rest of our lives. But unfortunately for my haters, I am reporting live from a man's house. I don't know what to tell you.
Wow.
I managed to do it. I know.
God, a man actually likes you, an independent woman
crazy.
That thinks, that has a brain. That's amazing. So this topic of whether women are more emotional than men, I really have started thinking about it a lot over the past week because one of my friends, he is, I would say he leans toward being a misogynist with some of the stuff that he says. And I was speaking with him and his wife, and his wife was saying that she would never go to a female doctor because a female doctor is more emotional than a man. Oh. And that really just of course I challenged it and I won because it's just such a stupid thing to say.
Right.
But I thought that this is a really good topic for us to tackle because so many of us have been brainwashed to believe that women are more emotional. Mm-hmm. And that has been used to relegate women to less superior roles than men. Women aren't good leaders because they're more emotional and they're not rational, right? That women, since they're more emotional, then, they can't run countries, they can't run businesses, they can't be head of households because they're more emotional and they don't make the right decisions. And especially, during our menstrual cycle, a lot of people say that women are more emotional. I want to talk about facts, not feelings, because that's what I base this podcast on, right? It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what somebody else thinks. I always want to have scientific backed data when we talk about anything, all right? So there is scientific backed data on this. And the University of Washington, also University of Michigan, and we will cite both of these studies, has done extensive studies on this. And what they do is they take a group of men and a group of women, and they, at the end of the day, they give them a survey for them to take, right? And essentially the survey is, how many times in the day did you have an emotional response to something? Okay? And there were some women that were on their menstrual cycle. There were some, women that weren't. So they wanted to go there too, right? To say, hey, if you're on your menstrual cycle, are you more emotional?
Right.
And the results are that absolutely not. Women are not emotional than men, even during their menstrual cycle, that women and men experience the same amount of emotional ups and downs. Okay. It's pretty much 50-50. But the reason that we think that women are more emotional than men, or one of the reasons, is I believe this is my theory, and a lot of people have talked about this, is that we don't consider anger an emotion. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
So we don't think that anger is an emotion. We think crying is an emotion, or women getting hysterical, for lack of better words. But when men get angry, it's not an emotion.
Right. Of course not.
So I was watching Family Feud yesterday. I love Family Feud. And I'm officially old. And there was a group of on one side, it was a group of all women, right? their family was all women. And on the other side was all men. It just happened to be that way. And what I noticed about the men is that they acted, for lack of better words, and I'm saying this because everyone will know what I'm talking about, they acted like they were in a frat house. Anytime someone would get an answer right, yeah, yeah, boy, yeah, yeah. I mean, it was beyond ridiculous. Like chest bumps, like it just, and I was looking at these people making a fool of themselves. And I was thinking, if the women on the other side were, jumping up and down and screaming, giggling, that would be looked on as a negative, right? Mm-hmm. But these guys, they were complete buffoons. I'm talking like, yeah, yeah. I'm not kidding. And everyone thought it was okay.
Right.
Everyone thought that was like perfectly acceptable. And what it goes to show is that women and men, since the study says that women and men have the same amount of emotions, ups and downs throughout the day, it's how they express emotion that is different. Men will express it through, yelling and screaming like they did in Family Feud. Men will express it through anger. In the workplace, men will, pound their fists against the table. Put their hands through a wall.
You're fucking insane.
Even in sports, right? Break rackets. And nobody thinks that's emotional.
Right.
No one thinks that is an emotion.
Right.
But women, on the other hand, how we express emotion is that we may become more quiet. We may even cry, right? We may even cry. We may become more quiet. But why is it that we are not able to be rational and experience emotion at the same time, but men can be angry and rational at the same time?
Right. It is 100% the patriarchy.
Why would you say that? Like, you put me in such an uncomfortable situation. Like, I'm not happy. I tried.
I know everybody likes to say that that's an easy answer out, but it's true. It's the cultural narrative that says that they can look at that situation. They can look at a man and a woman having equal emotional reactions and somehow conclude that he's still allowed to be a rational decision maker, a leader, a king, an emperor, a ruler, a CEO, the head of the household, etc. But she is not fit for any of those things because of her emotional outbursts, because of those fluctuations in emotional responses.
Exactly. That's one thing that I just find so fascinating, is how we just use any excuse to say that women are not as good. Whatever it may be, right? Any excuse that we can pull out of our asses to say that women are not as good, we do it. And and as far as when we're talking about anger, I mean, it's shown that anger actually is a lot more destructive than somebody crying, right? That's why 76% of all violent crimes are committed by men.
Oh my God.
76%. Which emotion is better? The emotion that's going to make you be a criminal and be violent toward someone or something? Or is the emotion of someone crying and being upset, which one's worse?
Right. Well, and I'm sure that there are probably some men, playing devil's advocate, and in this case, the devil is just the dusty men that are going to be in the comments that are inevitably going to say, well, being prone to anger or violence is actually good if you're, a leader, because a country needs a strong leader that, can, bring your kingdom and bring your country to victory or whatever. So they'll justify it by saying that without realizing that, there's also plenty of successful leaders that had to not lead their country to war or immediately kill off their subjects, because usually the leaders that are that prone to hair trigger violence are notoriously considered to be terrible leaders of our time. They are not revered. Yeah, they're tyrants. Exactly.
Absolutely. They're tyrants and they're murderers, right? So And if you think of the countries right now that are run by women, I mean, those countries are very, very successful, very successful. Okay. And you know, the notion that, you know, if a man is angry, that means he's assertive. It's that he knows what he wants. That's a great trait for a leader. That's a horrible trait for a leader, right? Anger is a horrible trait for a leader. One other thing I want to point out in the study is that, again, the experiencing of emotions for a woman, even during her menstrual cycle, was not more than anybody else. It manifested itself differently, right? So you may cry a little bit more, you may express your emotions a little bit more during that time, but you're not experiencing emotion more.
Right. Quick aside, let me get on my soapbox really quick. I just feel like whenever they like conveniently just forget to mention that men's horniness often is what brings them down as leaders, and you know how many nations have fallen because a man wanted to have sex with one particular woman. Like, there's plenty of things that make men volatile in ways that make them bad leaders, make them bad presidents, make them bad senators, bad CEOs, that just conveniently gets pushed out of the narrative. That one is completely forgotten. It's just, well, we're going to just pretend that one doesn't exist because men are better leaders immediately.
What happens in those situations is that they blame the woman. She's the temptress, right? It's the woman's fault that he can't keep his dick in his pants.
It's the Jezebel spirit that that pervades, and that's the reason why. How was what was I supposed to do? The Jezebel spirit was around me.
Right. Yeah. So for all of you out there that, you know, think that women are more emotional than men, it's absolute false. It's not true. This narrative has been used to justify why we shouldn't be leaders, why we shouldn't be head of households, why we shouldn't lead anything because we're more emotional and that we're irrational because of it. And it's only because we're not considering anger as an emotion. And if you consider anger as an emotion, men express anger a lot more than women do. And that actually leads them down to a worse path than a woman crying or anything like that. If anything, they're the more irrational ones, right? If anything, anger causes more irrational behavior than does a woman crying. So, if anyone ever tells you this, women, just know that they're full of shit. You can check them because now you have the stats, and you know that, again, it's okay to show emotion. I'm not saying it's not okay. You can go ahead and show your emotion, but understand that the way that you show emotion is no worse than the way a man shows his emotion. And I would venture to say it's actually better than, you know, putting your fist through a wall or, you know, slamming your hand against the table. And we just need to end this narrative right here and right now. So until next time, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. This is the only way we keep this going. And yeah, I have some good topics for next week. So Jordan, let's talk about it after the show, and we'll get ready to go for next week.